Hello, my name is Nate the therapist, however you want to go about it. I am a therapist, obviously. I work in northern Indiana. I got 3 kids, a wife of 20, almost 21 years, or 20, almost 22 years, and 3 kids, all teenage boys. That's exciting. We have a little dog named Phoebe, and that's kind of our context and stuff. So we live in a little rural town, um, but we're close to South Bend, so which is where Notre Dame is at. Anyway, this is just kind of a video blog for me to spout stuff off, to talk about things. I'm not gonna. They probably won't be real long, just because it's not my nature. These are kind of what I would call fragments. Fragments are things that kind of break the whole. They do different kind of things. So, like for example, trying to think. Anyway, not important. I'm in, and I also have a PhD in religion. So and then within that I studied a lot of deconstruction with Jacques Derrida. And all that sounds really complicated, doesn't it? It's ridiculous. Anyway, on this video vlog, whatever you want to call it, I will be dealing with issues of mental health, mental illness, finding ourselves. I also talk about music, playing music, sports, culture, maybe some politics, just whatever floats my boat. And I hope you'll engage with me in the comments and stuff, and really hope to kind of start just a conversation, I guess. We all say that. We all say we want to start a conversation, but I get to pick and choose how the conversation goes. So it's not really a conversation as much as it is my interests, stuff that I find interesting. So, today, basically, one of the reasons I got into being in therapy is because I deal with depression, anxiety, and some other stuff. I take a lot of meds for it. It's mostly under control. I do mostly well. I do really well actually for what I've got and how and I've learned how to deal with it over the last 13 years, 14 years. My depression started when I was my anxiety started when I was 6 or 7. I remember having my first anxiety attack at the elementary school that I was going to, and the room started to spin, and I started to get really hot and clammy, and as soon as I walked out of the room, I just threw up. And that tends to be kind of the MO for me, is that when I start to get anxiety, I get sick to my stomach and want to vomit. So that's cute, isn't it? But in the scheme of things, I'll give you tips and stuff on how I handle things. We'll talk about how we go about creating the space for such a discussion, for such these topics and stuff. How do we create that space? I still think that mental illness is very much stigmatized, and in fact, the more that it's become acceptable in our culture, I think the more it has become problematic. So for example, even among therapists, so I was with some therapists, and they were talking about how terrible bipolar disorder is, and it's well, a lot of people with bipolar disorder are able to function and do well and stuff, and a lot of people aren't. But it doesn't need to be stigmatized. It just is what it is. So I have a patient that is schizophrenic at the moment, and I used to work in a halfway home for people with schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and borderline personality disorder, and which was an interesting mix. And it was good times, but it was also very demanding. So I guess that's what you do when you get into mental health world. I used to run a mental health nonprofit called Here Here. I created it. If you ever heard of it, then that's me. I also used to run a nonprofit dealing with people with learning disabilities, or not learning disabilities, developmental disabilities. So some of them had learning disabilities, but mostly there we worked with like a lot of autistic kids, or a lot of autistic people, a lot of Down syndrome, a lot of people that couldn't talk and were bound to wheelchairs. We had to feed them and that kind of stuff. So I've seen a lot of different things in the area, in our world, and so I'm not too scared of much. So, and then I am scared. That probably means it's pretty serious. So anyway, that's kind of the discussion and stuff. The way things will take. I believe in therapy. I believe in the ability to talk to somebody and not give them advice, but help them on their road, help them on their path. My stuff on religion was in philosophy of religion, and so like some of the ancient philosophers, and then a guy named Martin Heidegger, who's really problematic. They came up with this idea of the Weg, which is the path, and that we're all on a path, obviously, and what the therapist does, or what the philosopher does, is to create places where somebody can continue to walk on that path. So for example, here right now we got a couple inches of snow, which is no big deal. And but I went driving today. I had to go drive about an hour away and then an hour back. But when I went to drive on the roads, on the county roads, they were not done at all, and so it was slick, and it was slick. I didn't lose control or anything, but I went. I drive in the snow every winter. I have for a long time. So yeah, and so it's kind of like that. Like the path wasn't cleared for me. It wasn't in a place where I could succeed. And so that's for me what therapy is all about, is giving people the tools and the ability to succeed, and hopefully and whatever success means for them. For some people, success means being able to live by themselves, or being able to take care of their kids. Other people, for success means being a CEO, or running a nonprofit, or that kind of stuff. So anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of me, what I'm thinking for whatever this is, and I hope that you'll join me on this path. Thank you. Bye bye.